6 o'clock, the BBC News Now with Martin Heath.
Theresa May has said 2 men named by police as suspects in the nerve agent attack in Salisbury are officers in the Russian military intelligence service, the GRU. Prosecutors say they have enough evidence to charge the pair with conspiracy to murder Sergei Skripal, a former GRU officer who became a British spy, and his daughter Yulia. Russia has dismissed the claims. The Corby charity Nightlight says it's beyond delighted that it's got planning permission for a permanent shelter. The facility will be created in a disused gym. Some residents had objected because it's close to a sheltered housing complex. Nicola Pell is from the charity.
We're utterly thrilled. I'm still in a bit of a state of shock today. It was like winning the lottery. Such a long, drawn-out process of kind of hurdles and fits and starts, and we almost got to planning permission in June, and then it was pulled an hour and a half before the meeting. So we kind of got to the fact that we never thought it was going to come round. We went in cautiously optimistic and came out absolutely jubilant.
An Emirates plane flying from Dubai has been quarantined after landing in New York. About 100 passengers and crew had reported feeling ill during the flight, with symptoms including coughing and fever. Police and health officials are evaluating passengers, and the White House is monitoring the situation. High levels of the E. coli food poisoning bug have been found at the hotel in Egypt where a British couple died 2 weeks ago. John and Susan Cooper from Lancashire were staying at the Steinberger Aqua Magic Hotel in the Red Sea resort of Hurghada. But the tour operator Thomas Cook says medical experts believe the tests haven't shed any light on the cause of their deaths. Northampton's long-awaited International Academy has finally opened its doors. The school is based in the old Royal Mail sorting office in Barrack Road and will eventually accommodate more than 2,000 pupils. It had been housed in a temporary building until now. Tim Marston is the principal.
We've opened the doors to the new building today, but the school's been in place now for 2 years, and the teaching and the progress the students have made have been fantastic. It's a really rewarding now to walk students and staff into a building to match the talents that they all possess. So yeah, it's a real privilege.
Friends and family have paid tribute to the BBC Radio 5 Live newsreader Rachel Bland, who's died of breast cancer at the age of 40. The Health Secretary Matt Hancock praised her bravery for producing a highly successful podcast about her treatment called You, Me and the Big C. The UK's first disabled air display team made their debut over the skies of Hampshire today. The group was formed by the grandson of Sir Douglas Bader, the RAF pilot who flew missions during the Second World War despite having lost both his legs in an earlier accident. The pilots flew in planes with adapted hand controls over Blackbush Airfield. Among them was Barry Hobkirk, who was paralysed in an accident playing rugby.
Despite any form of disability, you can achieve great things. From being told in 1990 that probably never walk again and certainly never fly again, to being in a three-ship formation team, I feel very proud.
And Twitter's chief executive Jack Dorsey has admitted that the company was ill-prepared and ill-equipped to deal with campaigns which used social media platforms to manipulate public opinion. Appearing before a US Senate committee, he said in the past it had failed to deal with abuse, harassment and troll armies. Quick look at the cricket for you. Bad light has prevented play for much of the day at Canterbury on the second day of Northamptonshire's County Championship match with Kent. 19 balls were bowled today. Northants 76 for 8 now in their first innings, trailing Kent by 61. And the weather for you, some sun this evening and a largely clear and cool night ahead with some mist and a minimum temperature of 11 Celsius, 52 Fahrenheit. BBC Radio Northampton News at 6:04.
Northamptonshire Travel.
BBC Radio Northampton.
It's queuing on the M6 northbound after junctions 3 for Nuneaton, where a lane is closed because of a breakdown in the same area as the roadworks. Wellingborough and Neortway is queuing northbound, taking around 10 minutes to get through towards Harrowden Road. In Rushden, the A45 is queuing on approaches to the roundabout at Skew Bridge. And looking at the sensors, the A43 is crawling northbound in Towcester towards the Tow roundabout for the A5, not helped by roadworks on the A5. As for the trains, Virgin Trains West Coast still have delays of around 10 minutes between Milton Keynes Central and Watford Junction. If you spot a problem, call 0800 030 4455. I'm Charlotte Downs, and the next update is in 15 minutes.
Good evening. It's that time of the week once again when I get to spend an hour talking about Saints on the radio. Welcome to the Saints Show. So what did you think of the opening match of the season? I know it was a defeat, but there were some good moments. Picked up on the bounce by Tuala, away on the left, all on his own at the moment. He's going for it himself. He slips through the first tackle. He offloads brilliantly, and there's the try for Saints. Really from nowhere on the end of it. I think it's Francis who gets on the end of it, but really made by Ace Tuala. Now, the new boss, of course, just wants to get back to the Gardens for his first match there.
They're giving everything they've got. They're trying hard. They're working hard together, and you know, they're playing some pretty good code. So I don't have any doubt that, you know, when we run out in the tunnel on Friday, the boys will be wanting to play for the people, that's for sure.
And we'll be hearing more from Chris Boyd this evening. And we'll also be joined by a man who's scored a few big tries in his relatively short career.
So that's a nice line from Tom Collins starting forward. Steps and goes! And Tom Collins scores what should be the decisive try. For the man born and raised in Northampton, he knows just how special this East Midlands derby is.
Tom Collins in the studio with us this evening, and wheelchair rugby is also on the menu tonight. So get your questions in, text them to 81333, starting with North, or you can tweet us to @BBC Northampton.
Well, a very good evening to everyone. Good evening, Leonard.
Evening, Graham. How are you?
I'm very well. Lovely to see you. Hello, Tom Collins.
Hey, guys.
And hello to Jamie Higgins, who is the coach of the Saints wheelchair rugby team.
Good evening, everybody.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Promotion.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, seems so.
Yeah, so we're going to talk more about your team. Relatively new still, isn't it, the wheelchair rugby team? But
Yeah, the club's only been going for about 19 months now, so relatively new, and first season for everybody as well, so...
Yeah, it's a fantastic effort. We're going to talk more about wheelchair rugby this evening. What we really like, and what we haven't had before in the Saints show, is guests bringing us presents, Lenny.
Well, yeah, what do you expect, in a wheelchair or something?
Tom Collins has brought us some T-shirts
Yes,
to
he
wear.
has, yeah. Sorry, I'd forgot I'd actually put that on. Yeah, he comes bearing gifts.
Thank you very much, Tom Collins.
Only 13 Saturdays to Christmas, is it?
I'll explain in a moment the T-shirts. Mine is medium. Yours is not medium. That's all I'll say about the sizes. It's very snug fits. These are the Derby T-shirts.
Yeah, but I'd like to think that you're just a little bit underdeveloped, Graham.
Well,
you know, since school, some people move on.
Ian Hunter, we've got a T-shirt for you, Ian. I know you're stuck at work.
Where is he? Where is he? See that empty chair at the corner there?
He tells us he's stuck at work, but really, I think he's a bit worried his T-shirt wouldn't fit him.
That's what it is. A little bit tight, you know.
These are the Derby T-shirts. They have large number 13 on the back. They are Rob Horn. They are limited edition. They are still, I think they sold out, but they're getting some more to sell.
They're great, aren't they?
All the money is for Rob Horn. It's a fantastic cause. It's the Derby, of course, coming up, which is a big fundraiser for Rob. Tom, let's just start with a brief word about this match coming up. I know it's a little way on the horizon. We've got lots else to talk to you about tonight. Rob Horn, what a guy!
Oh yeah, what a guy! He's a great guy, a legend of a person. And obviously this cause is massive for him. We all know what he's like. So no, it'd be good if we can get behind that, especially on the 6th, and get down there and support him.
Just in case you're not sure what date it is, check out our T-shirts. It's written across our chests. He was a great guest on the Saints show. I was looking in the diary. It's almost exactly a year ago. He was a fantastic guest.
I looked down, from Kingsholm on Saturday, and I thought how good it looked with all the players with Horn 13 on their backs, and we were just talking off air, and out of such adversity, and we were saying, you never ever want this to happen to anybody, but if there's a man that you feel is going to not take it in his stride, because there's going to be challenges all along the way, but I think he's a man that will bring some positive not only to himself but everybody around him with this. As I say, we didn't know him very well, Graham, and we didn't know him for a long time, but I said to you many times that he was one of those ready brick men, wasn't he?
Oh, no question. he'll be back in the country, of course. We'll be speaking to him in a couple of weeks on the Saints Show. Really looking forward to that, because he's a fantastic man. And between now and the 6th of October, be sure that we will be reminding people to support the testimonial match for Rob Horne at Twickenham on the 6th of October. I keep looking at your chest. It's not through admiration, Lenny, it's to check the date. I've got it right, 6th of October. Right.
I was worried.
Let's talk.
Well, Ben's Tom said we've all got down there on the 4th. We're going to have a hell of a couple of nights beforehand, aren't we?
That's right. Right, Lenny, let's start with you.
Yes.
Gloucester. You've had a few days now to reflect on it, on the defeats. What are your thoughts now?
More of a game that Northampton lost as opposed to Gloucester won. I was really pleased. Some areas, it's the first game of the season, and you can have as many warm-up games as you want, but it's still not the same as getting there in the cut and thrust of the Premiership when there's actually points at stake. I think my only disappointment really on the day is not getting a bonus point. I felt we earned it. And, to just be... I honestly got to tell you, I didn't know about that rule change, when Brasseau picked up that you've got to have both feet behind the back of the ball. At a ruck. Yeah. Again, what you're doing there is you're putting the onus for sides to defend as opposed to sides to attack. I think what you're doing there, you're saying that if you've got a side that's weak on their guard, certainly coming to the back end of the game they're tiring, why can't a player just have a good body position, that boxing body position, over the ball, you see the hole, brilliant from Brasseau, lovely little bit of juggling, and I thought it was a great try, and I'm disappointed that was, that virtually ruled out the bonus point for us.
Tom, what's the view then of the squad of the game now?
Yeah, I think...
I heard you at first, I remember Chris Boyd saying after the game the players were really gutted that you lost the match.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all were. We came in on Monday and sort of had a good meeting and got through a good couple of points. But I think for us, it was frustration, especially on the pitch at the time. I felt like at times we were in control of the game, and at times we sort of let them back in. We gave away, like we said, some silly penalties. We also gave them possession back. At times we sort of wanted to look after the ball, which turned into frustration, I think. And if you look back on the game, if we did look after the ball more and not give away, our discipline was better. I think that's our game. That's our game to win, to be fair. And I think, like Lenny said, we lost it at the end of the day rather than Gloucester winning it. And I think looking back, like I said, I think there were some big positives. We look like we're going in the right direction. I think we're just waiting for that game where it all comes together.
I'm going to play Chris Boyd now, and then I've got a few questions, and the questions are coming in for you, Tom. You can get them. You can text us 81333. Start your text with the word North. That's the best way to get hold of us this evening. Facebook as well. But let's start by hearing with Chris Boyd, because there are a few questions about this tonight, about what you need to do in terms of reducing the number of penalties conceded.
I think there's a degree of trust. Sometimes people will do things because they think they have to fix a solution. You're under pressure, and a guy takes a risk that's, on the risk and reward scale is too big, and he takes it and gets pinged for it. And if he just trusted somebody else to do a job somewhere else, it might be okay. But I think for us, we've got to get rid of the dumb ones, the high tackles, the offsides and the defensive lines, the jumping over the top of guys in a line out, those ones that are really clear and obviously, dumb and obvious penalties. If we can get rid of those, you go to the lottery, what is the scrum, and, that dark-arted place, I haven't got a really good technical understanding of, and I still look at it and go, I don't understand why that happened, but... And the interesting thing is, you get two scrum coaches and two referees in a room, and they'd all probably have a different opinion as well. So it's pretty tricky. But if we can get rid of the clear and obvious ones, then I think that's a pretty good start.
What do you make of Quinn's? I know it's all new to you, isn't it? But what do you make of Quinn's? What does your team of coaches around you make of them as well?
Oh, well, I thought, obviously we've had a look at their couple of pre-season performances and then their game against Sale. I thought they were really good against Sale, and it's, everyone's sort of, it's very early days and we're all sifting and sorting, trying to work out, who's going to be strong and who's, potentially going to be strong, and the rest of us are sort of all in the middle really in a lot of ways, and I think Harlequins could well be pleased with their performance against Sale. It was a good score and a pretty good performance. So they've got a lot of dangerous individuals that you have to take care of. Otherwise they'll catch up.
That was the thoughts then of Chris Boyd talking about, well, as you heard, Gloucester, and a little bit about Harlequins as well. We've had let's go to the first question of the night for you then, Tom, and it's touching on what Chris Boyd was saying there. Alan says the penalty count last week was around 21. I think it's a little lower than that, actually, but it was far too high. Clearly.
16, I think, wasn't
it? Had it not been for that, the result may have gone in Saints' favour. What is being done to address this? And is the mood in the camp affected by this in any way?
I don't think it's affected at all. I think we are still looking at the positives of the game, and we need to sort of push them out. But I think with our discipline, we're focusing on the silly penalties at the minute, the ones which we don't need to concede. Because at the end of the day, like we said, if we look after possession, we sort that penalty count out. I think the game is ours to lose, and we look promising. I think we look really promising, and coming out of 3 pre-season games where we looked good. I think it's a good start. Obviously, the loss isn't great, but it was a good start, and we can build on that.
But can you specifically work on discipline then? I mean, we saw this quite a lot last year as well. I mean, too many penalties conceded. Yeah. How do you address specifically discipline?
I think it's at the end of the day, like our meetings have sort of been based around this, and we're focused on the sort of, like I said, silly penalties and the ones we can sort out, and the ones we, as a team, as professional players, we should know better sometimes. And I think we've got to try and be squeaky clean this weekend against Quins. At home, they'll kick their points. So I think we need to do the right thing, and we will. We're focused on good things this week. So hopefully that'll just come.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. The thing to me is what I call the dim penalties. I thought Brousseau at the weekend was excellent. I really did. I thought he added a lot that I hadn't seen. We certainly last year didn't see that because I think he came with a knock and. But Saturday, I just thought his work rate, his physicality over the ball, I thought the selection was spot on. And with someone like Brousseau, you're always going to get a few penalties, which he's going to not get that 50-50 call because the referee will deem that he's got a knee on a body, But then you go to other sides where there were a couple of real dim ones, and they won't like. Alex will be in next week, and he can berate me. Alex, could have got out of the way a little bit quicker. Jamie Gibson came on, Graham's love child, and Jamie won't mind me saying this, and I'm sure it's been mentioned at all the debriefs, he was over someone in a line out like a rash, you can't do it, and they are the ones, and the way Graham, going back to your original question that you put to Tom, I think Chris Boyd's the kind of guy that if you continue to do that week after week, you won't be in the side.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely like that, and I think you go back to the Brousseau sort of clips, and you look at him, and I think most of the time, it's 50-50 whether he's going to get that penalty. And I think you can't stop a player like him, Tay, people like that over the ball. You can't stop them doing that because that's what they're good at. Half the time, the referee's going to deem it fine. The other half is probably not. So you can't really iron them ones out. But I think, the silly ones like climbing over people at line-outs and things like that, we can scrap that out of our game. And like I said before, going to Gloucester, it's a tough place to play anyway, let alone giving away, 16 penalties. All mainly within our half so they could kick them. It's just frustrating. It gives them momentum, and we're on the back foot from there.
I talked to Ace Twala, we'll hear from him a little bit later on, about what it's like to play with Dan Biggar. Because it doesn't just affect the inside centre, does it? It affects wingers, fullbacks as well. I remember Ian Hunter saying he would love to play with someone like Biggar because it just opens it up for all the backs. Have you found it so far?
Definitely. I love playing with Biggs. He's a great player, and the good thing about him, and I think this is what Boyd wants to do as well, is he wants to play. A lot of 10s in the past have sort of been defensive. They've sort of wanted to play on the back foot. But he wants to get on the front foot. He wants people like Luther and people like that who are good at carrying, and then we also want to get the ball wide. So obviously our quick players, people like Ace, you've seen what he can do at the weekend. He's done that in all pre-season. And he's excellent at that. And you need to give your players what they're good at and let them thrive off that. So I think Biggs is a great player for us.
Tom, has your brief been changed at all? Have you been given a little bit more of a free rein to roam? I don't want to put you in the same bracket, but almost the Ashton, Ben Cohen years ago used to have that, almost that licence to roam. Have you got that this year? Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing that people like Sam Vesti and Boyd have done have sort of given us the confidence to go out there and express ourselves. I think in the past few years, especially me personally, I've sort of felt like when I've come into the team, it's sort of been a bit like, don't make a mistake, just play your game and make sure you do what you got to do to stay in the team. And I think for someone like me, I'm
Some weeks I'm going to be good. Some weeks I'm going to, I don't know, throw an offload here and there. But at least I'll try things. And I think he gives us the confidence to do that. And it's for me, it's something which I can thrive off and really gain some confidence.
Much more to come with Tom Collins on the Saints show this evening. We are also going to be talking next about wheelchair rugby. Saints' relatively new wheelchair rugby team, which has had such a fantastic season. Jamie Higgins, their coach, is with us. That's all to come on the Saints show, but with the time at 6:20. Let's firstly find out what's happening on the roads.
Northamptonshire Travel. BBC Radio Northampton.
All lanes have reopened on the M6 northbound, but it's still queuing after junction 3 for Nuneaton. There was a breakdown in the same area as the roadworks. Going to take a little while for the delays to ease, I think. In Kettering, Northfield Avenue is queuing around the Stainer Retail Park, taking just over 5 minutes to get through. And it's a bit busier than usual on Nealt Way in Wellingborough, queuing northbound before Harrodon Road. In Rushden, it's struggling on the A45 on the approach to the roundabout at Skew Bridge. Whittlebury and the High Street is queuing northbound because of temporary traffic lights in place at Church Way. On the trains, problems continue for Virgin Trains West Coast with delays of up to 10 minutes between Milton Keynes Central and Watford Junction. If you spot a problem, call 0800 030 4455. I'm Charlotte Downs and the next update is in 15 minutes.
Annabelle at breakfast.
I want to be a sausage, a sausage, a sausage.
Oh, really? Where do we find these things, Tom?
The hell is that song?
I've no idea. Hang on here.
And I could be happy if I were a sausage.
I don't know what it is, but I kind of love it.
Is that our producer Dan on Friday night or something?
Of course it is.
Annabelle Amos at breakfast. Weekdays from 6. BBC Radio Northampton.
You're listening to the Saints show here on BBC Radio Northampton, where our guests this evening, well, we have two of them. We have Tom Collins in the studio, and we also have Jamie Higgins alongside him, who is the wheelchair rugby coach, the Saints wheelchair rugby coach. Tom, do you know anything about wheelchair rugby? Have you seen it played?
I've seen it, yeah, and it looks brutal.
Wow. I think for a lot of us, not you, Lenny, we just discovered, a lot of us, the first time I ever encountered or watched any wheelchair rugby was through the incredible documentary called Murder Ball, which is about the Canadian, the US, and the British, well, mostly Canadians and the US wheelchair rugby teams. Jamie is with us. Does that still resonate, that documentary in wheelchair rugby?
Yeah, it certainly does. The main sort of beginnings of the game were for people who wanted to play rugby but didn't have the abilities, like your average day player like Tom, you know. So, yeah, it still resonates for all of the players that are taking part because they're getting into a sport that they love and they're able to play it in a way that they can adapt to. So, yeah, definitely.
And it is a brutal sport.
It is very brutal. I've had a go myself in a chair. I ended up with my hand in plaster for 9 weeks. So, yeah, it can be brutal.
I mean, I haven't seen it, and now you guys have talked, but I'm going to have to watch this because I'm a big old softy, and Graham says it might make me shed a little bit of a tear. But is it one of those... has it got those moments in it, what I call the Al Pacino moments, where you can play it back to the squad time after time and say, look, this is what we're up against, this is the challenges we've got, lads, this is how we've got to go out. Is it that type of story?
It is. It's more about them overcoming adversity and, you know, finding a sport that they could get themselves into and, you know, keep playing sort of at a high level. So, yeah, definitely. It's one of those where you can sort of talk to your players and say, you know, put yourself in these people's shoes. You're doing the same thing. You're putting yourself into a sport that you want to play, and you know you want to play at a professional level. So
I remember talking to a wheelchair rugby. In fact, you've met Natalie McGloin, who is now she's now a motor racing driver. She was on the Lenny Newman show, but she was saying. I remember her saying that she ended up in a wheelchair after a car accident, and she said the first time she started to play wheelchair rugby was at university, and it was the start of her recovery, because I remember her saying that she was with a load of people who didn't care that she was in a wheelchair. There's no sympathy whatsoever. You just get on with it.
Definitely. As a team, Northampton Saints Wheelchair Rugby, we've got players that are at both ends of the spectrum. We've got some that were able-bodied in their younger lives and through no fault of their own, they've ended up in a position where they've got an impairment or a disability. And we've also got players that have grown up and been born with a disability and overcome the adversity of having that. And, they get into a chair, they get onto the court, they play wheelchair rugby and they're at an equal level. And I think that's why the game works so well.
So tell us about your team, because I remember we spoke to
Craig Stiles.
Craig, your friend from Kettering, and it was all new. How long's the team been going? It's only a year, is it?
So Northampton Saints, along with GBWR, the Great British Wheelchair Rugby team, put a plan together and delivered the first taster sessions about 19 months ago, sort of January of last year. We had a number of players come along. I got involved because I took my son along. My son's got cerebral palsy, so I took him along. He's always wanted to play wheelchair rugby. We got involved in the game. As time's gone on, we've seen some players come, some go. Some of the players that we had with us on Sunday have only been playing for around 6 months, but as a club, we've been running for about 19 months now.
How important was it, Jamie, to get that badge on your chest? The Saints badge.
Oh, definitely. As Tom probably would admit, when he goes out onto the pitch with the players, he's got that badge on. He's got pride for the badge and for Northampton Saints, and these guys are in their wheelchairs and they've got exactly the same pride as they go out on court.
Well, that's right, because when I see you walk down, I felt really honoured to see that badge with a wheelchair rugby underneath it. As I said, things like that mean an awful lot to me. So it's lovely that we can not just put that label on, but give that real support, isn't it?
It is. A lot of the guys, they live in the local community. They're big Saints fans anyway. So for them to be able to wear that badge as a player, it's really important to them, and they hold a lot of pride in that.
So, Jamie, what's your background then? Are you a rugby coach?
No. My background is recently I've been working in a care environment, working with disabilities and mental health. I got involved with the wheelchair rugby team literally through my son joining in. I then offered to help out with some of the coaching as a volunteer, and it's just progressed from that. I've kind of been in the coaching role since June now. And I took them forward to the last of the summer series, where we've just won all 4 games and ended up winning the championship on Sunday in our first ever competitive tournament as a team. So that's kind of my background into the wheelchair rugby.
So how hard is it to coach? Does it bear any relation to coaching rugby? Because I'm just starting at the other end of the scale.
Definitely. I coach other sports. I've coached in martial arts, and it's just as hard as any other sport. The one thing that you learn as a coach with any sport is how to deliver that sport, but it doesn't teach you how to work with disabilities or impairments. So that's something you've got to sort of pick up as you go along, and it's a learning curve all the way through. Every session is different.
What are the skills that the best wheelchair rugby players need? What do you look for?
Well, the thing with wheelchair rugby is that anyone can take part, and it doesn't matter what the effect of the impairment is. You may have someone that's more able than someone else, but each player gets classified based on what their impairment is or what their disability is, and dependent on where they come within that classification depends on what position they'll play on court. So they may work in a defensive position, or they may be more attacking. The attacking players, yes, you want them to be strong. They need to be fast. They'll be our ball carrier, so we'll make sure that player receives the ball on court each time. And then the lower pointed players that have less ability will be the defenders who will trap the fast players on the other court.
I've got 100 questions. How do you tackle?
In the chair.
Is it
generally, yeah.
Smash.
That's why it's so brutal. It's like dodging cars on a court.
You took the word out of my mouth, because the chairs have developed so much over the last 3 or 4 years, haven't they? And they are built now. Like, the skirts like a dodge or like Tom, when you go karting. That's what they're like, aren't they? I've seen people literally absolutely just turned over in a wheelchair with it.
We saw it on Sunday, and like you say, the chairs, the way they're built, I actually got to go to one of the manufacturers earlier this year because my son was purchasing his chair, And to actually see the process of building those chairs and what goes into it is absolutely amazing, and they're very robust.
I want to come and watch.
Yeah, so do I. I do.
Stay there. I want to talk to you more. Are you okay to stay with us
great.
on the Saints show? It's as I say, I've got 100 more questions. I'm sure you have as well, Lenny and Tom, about wheelchair rugby. Much more to come on the Saints show. We will talk more about the game coming up. Friday evening. Harlequins coming to Franklin's Gardens. We're going to hear more from Chris Boyd, a bit from Ace Tuala as well between now and 7 o'clock. And I've got a big pile of questions as well. Sorry to the likes of Steve and Ellis and Jane. I will get to your questions very, very shortly for Tom Collins. But the time here on BBC Radio Northampton is 6:30.
On FM.
Online.
On DAB Digital Radio.
And Freeview Channel 734.
This is BBC Radio Northampton.
And at 6:30, it's time now for BBC News with Martin Heath.
Theresa May has said 2 men named by police as suspects in the nerve agent attack in Salisbury are officers in the Russian military intelligence service, the GRU. Prosecutors say they have enough evidence to charge the pair with conspiracy to murder Sergei Skripal, a former GRU officer who became a British spy, and his daughter Yulia. Russia has dismissed the claims. The Corby charity Nightlight says it's beyond delighted that it's finally got planning permission for a permanent shelter for the homeless. It'll be created in a disused gym. An Emirates plane flying from Dubai has been quarantined after landing in New York. About 100 passengers and crew had reported feeling ill during the flight, with symptoms including coughing and fever. The White House is monitoring the situation. The Northampton International Academy has moved into its own premises in the old Royal Mail sorting office in Barrack Road. It's been housed in temporary accommodation until now and will eventually have more than 2,000 pupils. And friends and family have paid tribute to the BBC Radio 5 Live newsreader Rachel Bland, who's died of breast cancer at the age of 40. The Health Secretary Matt Hancock praised her bravery for producing a highly successful podcast about her treatment called You, Me and the Big C. The weather, a bit of sun this evening, leading to a largely clear and cool night with some mist. Minimum temperature 11 Celsius, 52 Fahrenheit. BBC Radio Northampton News at 28 minutes to 7.
Northamptonshire Travel.
BBC Radio Northampton.
Problems continue on the M6 northbound. It's queuing after junction 3 for Nuneaton. There was a breakdown there in the same area as the roadworks. All lanes reopened about 20 minutes ago, but it's taking a while for it to clear. In Kettering, Northfield Avenue is queuing around the Stainer Retail Park, and the A45 is queuing towards the Skewbridge roundabout in Rushden. The High Street in Whittlebury is queuing northbound because of temporary traffic lights at Church Way. And on the trains, Virgin Trains West Coast still have delays of around 10 minutes between Milton Keynes Central and Watford Junction. If you spot a problem, call 0800 030 4455. I'm Charlotte Downs, and the next update is in 15 minutes.
Welcome back to the Saints show here on BBC Radio Northampton, where Lenny Newman's with me. Say hello, just say hello.
Yes, I'm just saying evening, yep.
Tom Collins, hello.
How you guys?
Still there, are you? And Jamie Higgins as well. Who was talking about wheelchair rugby. And, Tom, we want to go and watch this now, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. Love to go down.
Yeah, it does sound. We will do that, I promise you. We'll talk more in due course, but I did promise I'd get to some questions, and I've got lots of them to get through this evening. So let's start with Steve, who says, Tom, you were seriously hot property at the start of last season until injury. How do you feel this season compared to last? And has your opportunity for game time increased under Boyd?
Yeah, I feel really good. I feel probably the best I can be at the minute. I sort of had a good pre-season this year. Played full-back for a few games, which was nice to sort of play back where I used to play at club rugby and things. But no, I feel really good. I feel similar to how I did last year. Obviously, last year I was on the back of going to Australia, that trip with Tom Stevenson, and we played a full summer pretty much out there. But no, I feel good. I feel similar to what I did last year, and I think like I mentioned before, with coaches like Sam Vesti and Boyd, they really put the faith in you, put confidence in you, so it should be good.
And we're talking a lot about Chris Boyd, of course, because he's the director of rugby. Yep. But what about Sam Vesti? How important a role is he playing?
For me personally, really good. He's like I just said. Put so much confidence in you as a player. He's constantly on your back, constantly giving you a word, but also giving you that confidence to go out there and do what you do. He doesn't ever have a go at you for trying things. Obviously, if you try something completely ridiculous, he'll get on your back. But he always says, have a go, back yourself, and do what you do best.
Speed-wise, got rid of one of your major competitors, didn't you, George North? Sent him back into Wales.
Yeah, who's the quickest now? We had this debate a lot last year, didn't we?
Unfortunately, we've still got Cobus. Cobus is still up there.
Is he still there? You've got to be. That's got to be
we're sort of pretty close on the
just say you're
time.
the quickest. Come on.
Yeah.
Good lad.
Sharon,
back yourself.
Sharon in Rushden says, "Hi there, boys.
Boys.
Yeah, I'm not sure that applies to Lenny. Can I ask Tom what he has been doing before the new season started?" She says, also, my dad was a big fan, or my late father was a big fan of Tom's dad, Darren.
Yeah,
who played Rushden, of course, at Rushden.
He did indeed.
We said we weren't going to mention his dad.
Oh, we've got to mention the great Darren Collins. How's he doing? Is he all right?
Yeah, he's all good. Yeah,
good. Very popular footballer in these parts. So what were you doing over the summer this time?
Over the summer, obviously, we get our sort of 5 weeks off, which spent sort of trying to get away, still topping up on fitness and things, but try and sort of take a break mentally from things, because it's a long season, and obviously I picked up a little knock around Christmas time last year, which was frustrating. To just taking some time out to sort my body out and things. But then coming back, we had a really long pre-season this year, with Boyd coming in. I think we started a week early just so we could meet up with him, get sort of to grips on what he was about and what he wants us to do. But I feel like pre-season this year has been really good as a squad. We look good, we look sharp. We're running the best times and speed
and
we've
all
ever
that
done.
Fantastic weather to train in.
Oh, it's been lovely, especially when you're doing fitness.
How did you enjoy? I was talking about this earlier. How did you enjoy the pre-season challenge, which is a new thing this year, isn't it?
The Baxton Challenge.
And the reason I mention it is because it's 100 years ago today. You might have seen. I mentioned the war, but 100 years ago today, Freddie Blackiston won the Military Cross.
Jamie, I told you, you can't keep away from
Lenny,
the war.
I'm turning your microphone off. The airwaves are mine. No, it's 100 years ago today. Won the Military Cross. Incredible bravery. It's on Twitter and Facebook if you want to see about it. Did you enjoy the challenge?
I did. It was a piping hot day, but no, it was really good. It was a tough little challenge we did. Can't remember what the run was. I think it was like
2.5k.
Yeah, 2.5k, and then we had these sandbags which weighed about 40 kg, which we had to carry 100 meters, and you had 5 of them to carry.
There and back.
So every time you carried 100 meters, you had to run back 100 meters and pick another one up. So you did that 5 times. So that was
really 2k.
Yeah, really hard. And then we had another 2.5k to run on as soon as we'd finished them. So it was tough. It wasn't really my competition.
You did okay, didn't you? Where did you come?
I think I come middle, around 12th. I think
the
12th,
winner,
13th. Dan Bigger smashed it.
He really smashed it. I was watching. He won by a mile.
He did. He literally. I remember he was in my group.
Yeah.
And he was miles ahead. He'd finished, and probably about 4 or 5 minutes later, I come walking in.
he was a man who was proving to everyone he's not some big flash Harry from international rugby. He's fantastic effort. And the other one I would mention from watching it, James Craig.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Incredible effort from a second row. I think James 4th or 5th.
I know he's really good at long distance events. See, I'm just not made for long distance.
He's put me back on now.
I'll let you, Mike. You'd like to speak again. It's brilliant. I love to see it. I love to see the Blackiston Challenge.
And long may it continue.
I'm sure it will. It was brilliant to watch. Justin, you've had your chance.
No, just before we move on.
Go on then.
Just before we move on to Quins this week, is there any fundamental differences, Tom, with the debrief at all? You know, is it still on the Monday? Is it Tuesday? Has there been anything changed at all?
The only thing I would say is different is the attention to detail. We seem to spend a lot of time in meetings focusing on what our focuses are for the weekend, what we need to work on from the weekend just gone. And we spend a lot of time in sort of our core groups, so like our back three, wingers, fullbacks. You've got your centres, 10s, 9s and 10s together, which is really good because you focus on the things that we can do as a sort of cell group, as a combined group, which is good because you focus on what opportunities you get at the weekend and what we can do, and then that sort of comes together in our team meetings, and then obviously we go out on the pitch and train together, and it all comes together out there.
Brilliant.
So Justin's question is, we've new wingers coming in. There's 2, isn't there? Nayorovaru and Andrew Callaway. Do you see yourself competing with these for your position, or long term, do you see yourself playing in another position, say fullback, where you have, of course, played before?
Yeah, obviously I love playing fullback, but no, I think these guys coming in are going to add great depth to our squad. It's really good for us at the minute, because I think it pushes players. Like, we like to have competition in the squad, and obviously it gives you that drive to go and play better every week, especially when they're hot on your tail, playing on playing on Monday nights, and we never know. And we sort of want to have an environment at the Saints where we've got a lot of lads playing well, and it doesn't matter who's coming into the squad, who's out of the squad. We've all got a good group on form, and we can all just have our turns.
And he's a big lad, isn't he?
Just a bit. It's completely the opposite to me. He is massive.
Yeah,
massive.
I'm sure we'll see him soon in Saints colours. Tony asks, and this kind of relates to Naiyaravoro's size.
Yeah.
What size are you, Tom?
I'm about 86 kg, and I think he's 130 kg. So he's got a decent wedge.
And what height are you?
I'm about 6 foot, and I think he's probably about 6'3".
So
6'4",
Matt Banahan.
Yeah.
And he's not as big as Naiyaravoro, but he's a big man. And Tony says, why didn't Gloucester put Matt Banahan up against you last Saturday?
He's quiet, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know that. I went into the game thinking that he'd be against me. I don't know. I don't know the reason behind that, but I was against Sharples, which is as big a threat, to be fair. Yeah, he's quick.
Slippery heel.
Yeah.
Different type of challenge. How'd you go about trying to tackle someone like Banahan?
It's tough for someone like my size, but not...
Cricket bat.
Yeah, definitely. No, you just got to obviously use your pace, and obviously they'll probably try and run at you, but use my pace as much as possible. If they get on the outside, then just get them down, really.
Good
any
question.
way possible.
Good question. Darren asks, how's the new puppy?
Oh, he's really good. He's cute. He's good as gold. I've got a little black lab.
Can't go wrong with a black lab.
He's good as gold. He's already very, very well trained, so he's getting there.
Yeah, good. Well, more questions. Keep them coming. Plenty more to get through as well here on BBC Radio Northampton on the Saints Show. Let's hear now from Chris Boyd once more, though. We're going to start talking about Harlequins. Let's start, though, hearing from the boss again, who said he enjoyed the atmosphere around his first Premiership match in charge.
I mean, clearly they're very passionate, the old cherry and whites down there, and I think the green, black and gold of Northampton's very passionate as well. But the encouraging thing for me is when we went in with the bus, the people, was a beautiful day, and the people were outside the pub, and they were, having a couple of pots together, and, there was obviously dominated by the locals, but, when we went out, there was, they were having a bit of banter together again. So, that's a great sporting environment where you can have great rivalries and great support, but yet they can cohabitate together in a very friendly manner.
And how important is it to have this place making that sort of noise that we saw on Saturday?
Oh, I think massively important. The support that Northampton or the Saints get from Northampton and the public here is amazing, and if nothing else, in my period of time here, nothing would make me more happy than the people of Northampton love coming to win or lose or draw, watch the Northampton Saints play, because they're giving everything they've got, and they're trying hard, and they're working hard together, and they're playing some pretty good code. So I don't have any doubt that, when we run out in the tunnel on Friday, the boys will be wanting to play for the people, that's for sure.
And you just must be desperate for that first win. I know it's only one game gone, but just to get everything up and running.
Well, it's a long accumulation of points, but you don't want to find yourself slipping too far behind. We're just going to focus on the process, and that'll give the performance, and if you get your performance right, that'll give you outcome, and you'll get championship points. So we just got to concentrate on the first domino, which is preparation, and then performance comes after that.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
As Chris Boyd talking to me a couple of days ago, he said he enjoyed the atmosphere at Kingsholm. Ian Hunter's talked to us about this before as someone who played wing. Tom, you were running up and down in front of the shed first half as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How was that?
It's tough. Obviously, I've sort of got used to it a few times now, but the first time I ever played there, it was really tough. Obviously, on the left wing, you can pretty much touch the crowd. But no, they're constantly in your ear, and if you do one thing wrong, especially in the warm-up, that's the worst time. But no, they're constantly on your back, and it's a tough place to go. And like I mentioned earlier, we go there and give away a load of penalties. It gets even tougher with them.
It's really weird though, Tom, isn't it? Because even though it is an attritional place, it's one of those places you want to go back to over and over again, isn't it?
Yeah,
you want to be in the side, don't you?
The atmosphere there is incredible, and I'd probably say atmosphere-wise, it's probably one of the best places to play.
Agree. Yeah.
Although you do make a mistake, you're not gonna live it down. But
it's brutal.
It is. But no, it's an enjoyable experience, and I love playing there. It's really good.
You imagine if you're a home player and they didn't quite like it.
Oh, imagine.
Right. Maria says, what do you make of the new signings, and have you got any nicknames for them yet?
No nicknames really yet.
Early days.
Oh yeah, early days.
I noticed he popped in a bit of a Biggs there. Did you see that?
Biggs. Come on, that's not your nickname, is it? Biggs.
No, it's not, but you know what I mean. It's as if he's known him for about 20 years.
No, the new signings are great, and I think there's a lot we can all learn off each other. And like I mentioned earlier, the more competition we have in the squad, obviously it will push players to be better and do better, and I think that's massive for us.
One more for now. James says, why didn't you just put the afterburners on when you made that break on Saturday?
I needed a new set of lungs, that's why. We had, the ball had been in play for a bit longer, and I was hoping I'd have a bit left. But no, there wasn't much in the tank by that point. I looked up and sort of my eyes lit up, but there was just not much in the legs.
Do you think you need to be a bit more ruthless sometimes, Tom? This is something we've talked about in the commentary. There have been times over the last couple of seasons where we've just wanted to see you pin your ears back and go.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I think there's times where, like I mentioned in the last few years, it's sort of been one of them situations where I've been worried about doing something wrong and I've not really backed myself. And I think hopefully you'll see more of that this year with the coaches and the confidence they're putting in, lads. You'll see people backing themselves and people trying things. And I think obviously you got to try things. There's no reward, is there?
I've heard from Chris Boyd quite a few times. He just said it in one of your clips there, Graham. He has a big thing about trusting a player, and I think that's where the player gets that feeling back, and he knows that. I'm not saying you're allowed mistakes, but Chris Boyd is a guy that's going to want you to try things, and I think Tom Wood alluded last week, didn't he? You know, first things you look at is basically, is your decision correct? Yep. Can you see the people around you? Yep. But he's never, ever going to, tear a strip off you for trying. And I think that's where the trust and confidence comes from.
A question or a text in for Jamie, who says, this is from Nick, who says, Jamie makes coaching look easy. Fantastic sporting and training communicator. He has shed loads of patience and never shows agitation, creates a good environment to perform. And that goes for all coaching, doesn't it? I mean, it's
certainly
nice to hear.
Yeah, no, it's nice to hear. I think I know who that was as well. But sort of main thing in coaching is being able to communicate with the people you're in front of. Communicating with the team. If you can communicate with them, you can use that as an example for them to communicate between each other and communicate as a team, so they can communicate on a pitch or they can communicate on a court in wheelchair rugby and make the most of the people they're with and push on and play the sport to the best of their ability.
Yeah, and everything you're saying there applies to all coaching.
Yeah, all coaching, all sports.
Yeah. Do you think there's much crossover between... And we talk about wheelchair rugby, but in reality, it bears some resemblance to rugby, but it's limited, isn't it? And there are no scrums, there are no line-outs, and the basic principle of rugby, passing the ball backwards, isn't there
Yeah,
either.
certainly. We don't even use the odd-shaped ball. We have a round volleyball.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, generally it's sort of coming to sort of the wheelchair rugby away from the murder ball process due to sort of it becoming a Paralympic sport. It's moved on now. The recent competition that the wheelchair rugby team won on Sunday is another step on from the Paralympic version.
Yeah.
The Paralympic version, we play with 4 players on court, and each person playing has to be impaired within 3 limbs or more. The version that we went on won on Sunday is the new Rugby 5s version. This opens the sport up and makes it more inclusive, because we've got that whole range of people with, maybe 1 limb impairment, amputees. They get to play with people with, full-grown disabilities, and as a sport, it is so inclusive. Females can play.
It's a mixed sport.
Yeah, it's mixed gender.
So let me ask you a question then. So how old's your son?
My son is 18.
Right. So what's it like for you then as a parent watching your son playing wheelchair rugby? I suppose at 18, he's quite robust at 18.
I stand there with pride, sometimes like watching the game on Sunday, that last game when they won, just seeing his face brought a tear to my eye. But I felt that same sense of pride for all of the guys on the court at the time. Just to see it in their faces after, a few months of training together as that team, the way they've gelled. The communication that we were just talking about has really worked for them. They've gelled as a team. They got on court and they showed that as a strength, and that helped them win 4 games on the bounce on Sunday.
So what's it done for your son?
It's done a major amount. It's made him more confident. He'll go out and socialise, where before as a young lad he felt he couldn't do these things, he couldn't play sport. He'd hide away in his bedroom, play on the PlayStation. He still does that, but he's a bit more social now and gets out. And up until this weekend he was playing as a junior, but the guys on the senior team welcomed him into the team and they've supported him and they treat him like a younger brother, so it's really good for him.
And everything he says there, those values, they're the values of rugby, aren't they? Be it wheelchair rugby or the rugby as we know it, 15-a-side rugby, it's the same values.
It is, and just one thing, Graham, is that Alan Jones, I think, works with you, just sent this message. It says, look after him, Lenny. What Jamie Higgins does in general for disability sport and supporting mental health through the use of physical activity is absolutely amazing. So well done.
Thank you, Alan.
So, well done, Alan. But we've got more to come. We're running out of time, but let's go and see what's happening on the roads at the moment.
Northamptonshire Travel. BBC Radio Northampton.
It's slow on the M6 northbound after junction 3 for Nuneaton. Through the roadworks, there was a lane closed there because of a breakdown earlier on. It's not as busy as it was. It's just starting to ease now. In road, the A508 is crawling northbound towards the M1 at junction 15 for Northampton. It's looking busy much later on into the evening than usual today. In Wellingborough, Neort Way is queuing northbound towards Harrowden Road, and it's queuing through Kettering around the Newlands Shopping Centre, Northall Street, Lower Street, both looking busy on the sensors. Also in Kettering, Northfield Avenue is queuing around the Stainer Retail Park. It'll take you around 5 minutes to get through there. On the trains, Virgin Trains West Coast have delays of up to 10 minutes between Milton Keynes Central and Watford Junction. If you spot a problem, call 0800 030 4455. I'm Charlotte Downs.
You're listening to the Saints show here on BBC Radio Northampton. You're talking about your housemate. I'm going to bring this up. You probably thought it was in confidence, but I'm going to bring it up. Who are you living with?
So I'm living with Will Davis,
yeah,
and an actually Northampton Saints player called Alex Walford.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Good player.
Good player.
Very good. And you do you want to tell your housemates what you want for supper? Because that's what you're talking about.
I think we've got meatballs on tonight. Yeah, so
you should be home by 7:30ish. That's
hopefully,
fine.
Yeah, as long as it's ready for when I get in.
Okay,
should be quite good.
What's his signature dish? Is it?
Yeah, Will Davis. He made chicken lasagna last night, and then for afters we had some protein banana bread.
Good. Just in case the S&C boys listening, in case it's all very healthy.
Yeah, it was protein banana bread.
It's like the film The Odd Couple, isn't it?
It is. It's or Eric and Ernie, I'm thinking as well. Back to some of your questions that have been coming in tonight. Jane's question has, I think, been answered. Says, what's your favourite dinner? Is it the chicken lasagna then?
Got to say, yeah, Will's chicken lasagna is probably one of the nicest I think I've ever
Graham,
had.
Get Will in.
Yeah, we'd like to sound it, Will. Yeah.
Will, if you're listening, you're in. If you can bring the lasagna.
Tony asks, what are your personal goals this season?
I think for me personally, to try and just keep playing well, and I think back myself and things, and just trying to break into the team. I'm trying to stay into the team and trying to just keep pushing on, really, keep pushing other players who are around me and learning off other players. I think that's massive for me, and like I said, just trying to nail a spot and keep playing well week in, week out.
We've talked a lot about you over the last couple of years, and not just you, but some of the other players like Tom Stevenson, who's now obviously London Irish. A lot of these young players, this golden generation, it looked 4 years ago, and actually you were the first one, I think, really to break through. I think back to that season, you were playing in Leinster, weren't you? And your progress hasn't been as smooth as you wanted. We've talked about this before. Do you feel now it's a fresh start though with Chris Boyd and everything's possible?
I think so, yeah, definitely. I think the last 4 years have been somewhat frustrating. Obviously, at 18, 19, you sort of get your break and you sort of play quite a few games in that year, and then ever since then, it's sort of never really pushed on to where you dreamt it would be, and say now really. But yeah, it's a fresh start. I look like I've got quite a few games under my belt now, and I feel like I can push on in games and do well. So I feel like I've got to show that to Chris, show that to the coaches now, and it's definitely a fresh start.
I've got a text here from Jim. I don't think it's him, but it says, "What was your favourite moment in a Saints jersey?"
I think that going back to that Leinster game was
Leinster.
That was one of the special ones for me. I was a young lad at the time, 18, and obviously I think the week before we'd got absolutely hammered.
What a night that was!
And then we went down there, and I remember it very well. Jamie Elliott in the last sort of minute or two got an interception, and we sealed the game.
Fantastic.
And I remember running the length of that pitch, cramping both legs, sort of hardly being able to walk. But no, that was probably one of the best feelings to date, really.
And it was a great night out.
Oh, it was incredible.
It was.
Everything was good.
Favourite try?
Favourite try.
Can I point you towards scoring against Tigers, perhaps?
I was literally just about to say that. Probably Tigers. Yeah, growing up and obviously witnessing what that's about from a young age and sort of supporting Saints, going out there and sort of playing against players who you've sort of looked up to as well, coming through the ranks and sort of going out there and playing against Tigers and screwing against them was probably a big moment.
Great moment. Great. Okay, let's talk about Quins then in the last 5 minutes of the show. They had a really good start, didn't they? I was quite surprised by the size of their win against Sale.
Yeah, definitely. You look at their pre-season games; they got absolutely hammered a few times, and then you look at that Sale game, and they played incredible. To be fair, it just shows what they're about. They want to go out there, they want to play rugby. You can't switch off at any point.
Yeah, they just kept the ball alive, didn't they? I mean, one of the criticisms of Chris Robshaw is that he's a bit head down, but he was even there in the middle, and also. You can see that Danny Kerr is refreshed from his break, not touring. And I think, with the Saints, I think one thing, I don't know, I think they'll say that they'd have said in the debriefs, keep him on the floor a little bit longer if you get him down, and because he's the kingpin, isn't he?
I think the way you look at this is like you've got people like Danny Kerr, Marcus Smith at 10, and if you let them play the game they want to play, they're incredible players. And I think you've got to try and sort of take that space, take that time, put pressure on these guys and hopefully pressure them into making decisions and seeing how they deal with that. I think other weekend Sale sort of let them run riot, and I think Danny Kerr, the heartbeat of their sort of side.
It was close for 30 minutes, wasn't it?
Definitely, yeah. And then they sort of ran away from it. And it's like I said before, you can't switch off against a team like Quins. You can't give too many penalties away. Because they'll take advantage of it.
They've got pace all round.
Well, they have, but so Saints. I thought Piers Francis spoke really well after the game on Saturday. It was
good, wasn't it?
At Gloucester, just talking about, there's this, I can feel it, there's a positive feeling down at Saints at the moment, and one defeat at Gloucester is not going to knock that.
Oh, 100% not. No, I was talking to Lenny before this, but sort of saying about a win, just settling us down a bit, and I think... At the minute, that's something that we need to get to. We need to get to that sort of settling down stage, because at the minute we're very frantic. We're trying things, but that will come. I think at the minute, as a squad, we're heading in the right direction. We look back at games, training, and the positives we can see are incredible. Like we've come so far in just 9 weeks of pre-season, and it's interesting to see when that all comes together where we'll be, because we could be amazing if all of the sort of tiny bits of detail come together. But it'll be interesting to see where we're at, and the positive vibes at the club is really good.
And we all need to be patient as well, don't we? Because it's not going to change, overnight.
Exactly, it will happen in its own time. And the thing is, we've got to sort of not put pressure on ourselves, keep calm heads and things, and it will come in its own time. And when it comes, hopefully it will come in waves.
Yeah, Lenny, what do you think about this Friday night then?
I'm really excited about it. I really, really am. It's a chance. We didn't know what the Saints were going to look like. We got a good glimpse at the weekend, and it did. Barring the result, it did excite me. I see a lot there, and I feel that Quins at your peril with their new. Because again, similar to Saints Sale, I felt that Sale gifted the second half to Quins and just got their. They ran at them at will, really. And if you look at some of the tries, as Steve Darwin said, they were soft. But, at Northampton, Quins will be really wary about coming up, because they will have analysed the Gloucester game and they say, hold on, boys.
I'll tell you who I think might be a key player for Saints this week, Heinrich Brousseau.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
And the way that Quins play, I think Brousseau could be a real nuisance.
You always find against Quins, I love playing against Quins because it's a very open game sometimes. And I think people like Hines, people like Tay, Our big ball carriers, but also very elusive around the pitch, will be massive for us this weekend. You'll get a lot of turnover ball on Friday night, so will they, and it's about who reacts quickest and who gets on the ball first. And I think players like that will be key for us.
Brasseau was my man of the match last week.
Despite the penalties.
Despite the penalties.
So, just finally then, Tom, do you enjoy Friday night games?
I love Friday Night Lights, probably one of the best.
Yeah, it's good atmosphere, really good atmosphere at the Gardens. Lenny, score prediction?
I think it's going to be 26-12 to the Saints.
And I haven't forgotten about Jamie. Jamie, you'll be watching, hopefully, or listening even better. Which way is it going to go this Friday?
Hopefully I'm going to watch the game, but
listen, Jamie.
Listen,
Listen, you got that wrong. You got to listen.
When's your next match, by the way, Jamie?
We haven't got one lined up at the moment. We've got a few guys playing with one of the other teams in the classified version this month, but as a team for us, it will be the Summer League. And we're just going to spend that time looking for some new players.
Well, if people want to get involved, just quickly,
people get involved. We're underrepresented by female players at the moment, and the junior team is quite small, so we'd love some more juniors to come along and some females. So if they want to get in contact and pop along, they can contact the community team at Northampton
We
Saints.
must go to a session.
We're going. I promise you now. We're going to go. We'll even bring in Hunter if we can find a wheelchair big enough for him.
Where is Ian Hunter? Where's Wally?
Yeah. Thank you very, very much. It's been a fascinating Saints show tonight.
Brilliant.
We'll be here live Friday night, of course. So join us there here on BBC Radio Northampton.
On FM,
Online,
DAB Digital Radio,
and Freeview Channel 734.
This is BBC Radio Northampton.
It's 7 o'clock here on BBC Radio Northampton. Time now for the BBC News with Martin Heath.
Theresa May has said the two Russians suspected of carrying out the Novichok poisoning in Salisbury were military intelligence officers. Scotland Yard has named the men as Alexander Petrov and Ruslan Bashirov, but said those were probably aliases. Detectives believe they used a perfume bottle to spray the nerve agent on the front door of the former Russian agent Sergei Skripal, who subsequently fell ill along with his daughter. The British woman Dawn Sturgis died in Salisbury in July after being exposed to the substance along with her partner Charlie Rowley. Our correspondent John Kay is in Salisbury, where he says residents remain anxious.
We've now got images of that Nina Ricci Parfait Jour bottle of perfume. It looks like a real bottle of perfume, but the police are saying it's fake. It's crucial for the police to try to establish where was that bottle of what looked like perfume between the Skripals being poisoned here in March and Charlie Rowley finding it, we think, in June. Did it sit in a bin for 3 months, or was it somewhere in between?
The Corby charity Nightlight says it's beyond delighted that it's got planning permission for a permanent shelter. The facility will be created in a disused gym. Some residents had objected because it's close to a sheltered housing complex. Nicola Pell is from the charity.
We're utterly thrilled. I'm still in a bit of a state of shock today. It was like winning the lottery. Such a long, drawn-out process of kind of hurdles and fits and starts, and we almost got to planning permission in June, and then it was pulled an hour and a half before the meeting. So we kind of got to the fact that we never thought it was going to come round. We went in cautiously optimistic and came out absolutely jubilant.
The Parliamentary Labour Party has overwhelmingly agreed to adopt the international definition and examples of anti-Semitism without any caveats. The decision, which was opposed by just 8 MPs, comes a day after the ruling National Executive also adopted the code, but included a statement aimed at ensuring the protection of free speech on Israel and the Palestinians. Northampton's long-awaited International Academy's finally opened its doors. The school's based in the old Royal Mail sorting office in Barrack Road and will eventually accommodate more than 2,000 pupils. It's been housed in temporary buildings until now. Tim Marston is the principal.
We've opened the doors to the new building today, but the school's been in place now for 2 years, and the teaching and the progress the students have made have been fantastic. It's a really rewarding now to walk students and staff into a building to match the talents that they all possess. So yeah, it's a real privilege.
And the BBC 5 Live newsreader Rachel Bland, who was widely praised for her podcast describing her treatment for breast cancer, has died. She was 40. The BBC's Director General Lord Hall said she'd been an inspiration. And the weather, there's likely to be sun as the evening wears on, and it'll lead to a largely clear and cool night with some patchy mist at times, and a minimum temperature of 11 Celsius, that's 52 Fahrenheit. BBC Radio Northampton News at 7:03.
Johnny Ianson, BBC Radio Northampton.
Well, welcome. How are you? Here we go. It's Wednesday. It's just gone 7 o'clock, and me and you are back together.